Okay, we're on. Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, this is Comic Hour. I am joined today by Abby Rinaldi, comic book fan and also a gym rat. Is that correct, Abby?
That is correct. I am
Awesome.
your nerdy gym rat, so pretty much just grew up being a nerd and then started going to the gym.
That's awesome. But I see that in your channel, you're also a very big comic book fan, movies. That's pretty cool. Can you can you tell us how you got started? I'm sorry about that. How you got started in the comic book reading fandom that we are all in right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up with all of the movies and heroes and everything, and I always loved all of them. I feel like I attribute a lot of who I am today and my morals to the fact that like superheroes kind of raised me. And so for me, it just kind of made sense that the comic books were a next step since it's the basis of every hero and it's really the nitty gritty to heroes, whereas the movies are kind of a lot of what the fans want, a lot of what the actors and directors want, but the comic books are pure and like raw. And so I just loved them and I started collecting them and then it really just spiraled from there.
That's awesome. Is Do you remember the first like comic that I guess that you saw that you kind of maybe you bought or maybe that sparked that interest that made you want it to do, I mean, to become a reader, a regular reader like myself. So yeah, do you still remember those days?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be The Dark Knight Returns for me by Frank Miller. That was a huge one just because I loved the Christian Bale Batman Dark Knight trilogy. I was obsessed with it. And so when
Oh,
I
me too.
found out, yeah, it's so good. And I kind of just found out what comic books the director used, like Christopher Nolan used to base that movie off of. And I started reading those. And then I just fell in love with comic books.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love the Dark Knight trilogy. That really didn't get me into comics because I was in comics before that, but that movie definitely raised up the heights of the comic book industry. I believe that the Dark Knight trilogy is to me is my favorite, but it's also the best Batman that I think we've ever seen. Um, but to I guess to go back into the comic book questions here, I believe a lot of my subscribers know that I started reading comic books at a very young age, especially in the '90s when I remember my brother bought the Infinity Gauntlet book, and as you know, the Infinity Gauntlet is based on the comic book that made the movie with Robbie Downey Jr. and everybody else. So I
Yeah.
picked up that book and I saw Thanos and I saw a bunch of superhero fighting him and I was just hooked. I was like, who is this guy? Who is this Spider-Man guy? Who is Thor? And I was very young. I was maybe about 7 or 8, but after that, I just fell in love with them. I wanted to, get to know each and every one of those characters, and I after the Infinity Gauntlet, I remember I kind of because my brother was a huge fan, so he'll buy random issues, and I always take a peek at it. But what really got me into it was in the years 2000s when Ultimate Spider-Man came out. And
Yeah.
that's when I really got into it. The first Ultimate Spider-Man, because now it's 2024, and obviously there's another Ultimate Spider-Man now.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit confusing. But the first one with Michael Bendis really got me hooked. And during that time, when I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man in the year 2000s, uh, the Spider-Man movie were made. So the first couple ones with Tobey Maguire and Kristen Dunst. I believe the first one was in 2002, and I remember that movie really put um, the interest in comics back to the public, and I was fascinated by that. And then Spider-Man 2 came out in 2004, I believe, and that's when it was crazy. That movie blew up at the box office, but it was a really good superhero movie, and
Yeah.
I remember going in during the midnight release, which was crazy, but I was there. But yeah, it's I guess that's how I got started in a nutshell. Um, I feel like we always gotta introduce ourselves with the how we got started with comics, and you have a really cool story about it too. But this podcast here, today we're gonna be talking about the movie, actually, the Wolverine Deadpool movie. This is, it's a huge movie. Obviously, it broke, records at the box office. Um, but Abby, what did you think? I mean, I don't want to say overall, but like, what did you think when that movie was announced? Where were you, and what did you think of it? Like,
I believe I was at work and it got announced, and it was actually my friend who told me about it because I was at work, so I wasn't on my phone. And I remember just being in like shock and awe and so hopeful. I loved the Deadpool movies. I have both of them on DVD. And I was like, okay, this is going to be amazing. And then I remember this like fear kind of like wave went over me where I was like, oh, but this is Marvel. Like it's Deadpool and Wolverine Marvel. Like it might not be good. It might not be up to the same standards. And so I remember being so scared for it, but also so excited. And I'm just really glad that it turned out the way it did.
yeah, absolutely. And when it was announced, I was just kind of like, I guess Hugh Jackman is coming back as Wolverine.
Yeah.
He's almost 60, so I was kind of
Yeah.
worried about that because he's obviously getting older. But in the movie, they made that joke that he's gonna play Wolverine until he's 90, and
Yeah.
it looks like it's going to happen. It looks like Marvel doesn't want to release him of
Yeah.
his
Definitely not.
duty. But yeah, I remember when they announced it, because Marvel just they bought 20th Century Fox, the studio, so everybody knew that Deadpool was going to join the main Marvel universe, and we didn't know if he was going to team up with Hugh Jackman. But then when they came out with that YouTube video of Ryan Reynolds introducing Hugh Jackman in his like house. Uh, that's when that was the first time I heard about the movie, and I was just kind of like I was shocked, but I was like, this is gonna be good because I love
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, I love him as Wolverine, and I love Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, so I knew that it was gonna be a hit. I was just kind of like I looked at these actors and I was like, they're gonna be together in a movie. This is gonna be insane, you know. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so like when the movie started, I guess the first thing that happened was that Deadpool is like looking for Wolverine. He's looking for the original Wolverine, but that Wolverine is dead, and he's fighting the what's it called? Those
The
guys.
TVA.
Yeah, the TVA. There you go. They came and got him, and it's funny because they when he was fighting them, they bust out the song and saying bye bye bye, and yeah, I was very young when that song came out, but I remember it very well, and it just brought back like memories when I was in school. So, but
Yeah.
the right off the bat when he's fighting the TVA, and you see all this blood, you know that this is not your typical Marvel. You know that this is like a rated R movie now because there's blood
Yeah.
flying everywhere. Um, Abby, what did you think about that scene?
I was obsessed with it. I still, anytime I hear this song or even like a bit of the intro, I get so excited, like to my core excited. I thought it was amazing between the blood and gore and even like starting off with jokes and like inappropriate jokes right off the bat because that was a big fear of mine. I was like, okay, maybe Marvel will throw in some blood and a little bit of gore, but they're not going to stick to the inappropriate, like R-rated jokes that make Deadpool who Deadpool is. And so when they started off with inappropriate jokes right off the bat. I was like, this is perfect and this is amazing.
Yeah, it was Deadpool. It was like the original Deadpool. It was him.
Yeah.
He wasn't blocked or anything. Although they blocked him from doing cocaine, so
Yeah. They
so
did
they
block him
blocked.
on that one.
Yeah, so they blocked him on that one. And but otherwise, that was the regular Deadpool that we're used to. And he's like joking. He's like slashing people. It's gory. It's bloody. And right off the bat, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be good because this is the Deadpool that we know. And basically what he had to bring Hugh Jackman back, like he had to look for Wolverine because his world, Deadpool's world, was dying, and he had to bring an anchor to save his world. And when he was looking at all these Wolverine, I remember the first Wolverine that he met at the bar is like a midget.
Yeah, the comic
I mean, that,
accurate one.
yeah, nothing wrong with short people or small people. I love them, but it's just that it was just hilarious that it was Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, and we all thought that he was tall. So when he got up his seat, he was just so small. It was kind of funny, and Deadpool was all laughing. I remember what he said. He said something, "Oh, you little guy," or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, he was like, "Oh, you're so cute."
Oh, yeah. And then that was that those scenes that was like some pretty cool scene because like he was like traveling from portal to portal and he was going through like different Wolverine. Like we saw the John Byrne Wolverine when he's fighting the Hulk.
Yeah.
Um, we saw the Wolverine when he's like there's a cover of him on a cross. We saw that one. We saw Patch, uh, Edgar
Yeah,
Forria. So it was really cool to see all these Wolverine because, like, as a reader, you recognize all these Wolverine. But the thing is that we didn't know that Henry Cavill was going to be there
that was
because
amazing.
that was amazing. Because like when he started walking towards Henry Cavill, he was saying, "Oh, this is like the real package there." That's like the first thing that Deadpool said. He was like, "This is the real deal,"
Yeah,
and they're showing the muscles, and then basically Henry Cavill turns around and just like looks like the part. Like he looks
yeah.
like he could be like a legitimate like Wolverine, somebody that could like start his own Wolverine movie, and he looked good. He looked really good. What did you think, Abby?
I thought it was great. He looked. I feel like Henry Cavill, especially with the way that Superman's like a small like farm boy. I could see him being like the lumberjack Wolverine, like where he's cutting down trees and he's just like gritty and like in a forest. And I could see him playing like the full part of not just Wolverine, but like the whole character behind it and like his persona.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that stood out to me is that he was smoking that big old cigar.
Yeah.
And in real life, because he said it in an interview, is that they were shooting for a couple hours, and he kept smoking that cigar, and it gave him like a headache. It actually did give him a headache. So like he was trying really hard to play the part, but that the cigar was giving him like a huge headache, and then he basically um, he was just like limited in his like performance, but he did a good job. I think all the fans were pleased. I certainly was really pleased about it. But yeah, I mean, after he finds Wolverine, basically he found the biggest loser Wolverine, and guys, I don't mean to like review the movie because I know that all of you guys seen it, but it's just so great to talk about it because it's such a good movie. And Abby and me, we both love Wolverine. I know that she loves the comics also. She told me that she's currently reading the Wolverine Revenge, which is a good comic book by not Snyder, but the
Hickman.
artist. Which one? Yeah, it's
It's
Hickman.
Hickman.
Yeah, Hickman is the writer, but the artist is Capuco, right?
Capullo.
Capuno.
Yeah. Greg
Capullo. I'm
Capullo.
sorry, Capullo. God, I can't even say his name. It's funny because I met him at New York Comic Con, and he's a great
Did you
guy.
really?
Yeah, I met him and
That's so awesome.
Scott Snyder. They did a signing for the what's it called, the Batman Who Laughs. There you go, the Batman Who Laughs. They did a signing for
Yeah.
that, and I went and I got my copy autograph by both artists and writer. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, he's the artist for Wolverine Revenge, and it's he's a good artist. I mean, the art is very very vibrant, very cool, and there's a lot of blood, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
the movie. Lots of blood. What's your favorite part about the Wolverine Revenge so far?
Honestly, I know it's like later, it's in the third issue, but I think the whole scene with Deadpool, not to be kind of hitting that on the head of I love Deadpool and Wolverine kind of crossovers, but I felt like throughout the whole comic he was like kind of making jabs specifically at Wade. And then when they had the scene, I don't know if I can spoil it, but like they had the scene on top of like the nuclear power plant, and my jaw just I remember dropped, like physically dropped when I was reading that scene. And I remember calling my friend and being like, I cannot believe that just happened. Like it was just
Yeah,
so beautiful.
it was, except for the ending when you pushed him.
Well, that's why I couldn't believe it. I really was like, I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna team up, and then just bam, pushed him in. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was so it was
Yeah,
perfect and exactly what needed to happen, but I just was shocked that they actually did it.
yeah, absolutely. The scene that I thought was gory and was crazy was when he chopped up like Brainiac's head. Not Brainiac.
Oh yeah.
Well, what's the
Um,
guy's name of that he's using? He's currently using
he's
his
mind
brain.
control.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mastermind. There you go, Mastermind.
mastermind.
Yeah, so he chopped Mastermind head. I thought that was kind of gory when he had the head and he presented it to the X-Men. So it's pretty. The whole comic is gory. I mean, the way he
Yeah.
slashed the Colossus, that was that
Yeah.
was that was crazy. He also killed
Sabretooth.
Sabretooth. Yeah, Sabretooth. But which one do you read? Do you read the regular one or do you read the rated R, the bloody one?
I read both of them. I like to see like the differences between the two.
Yeah, the art is amazing. That's for sure. I
It
mean,
really is.
I know that the rated R one, the bloody one, there's a lot of blood and a lot of colors. But yeah, Abby, I see that you're committed to going to like Midtown Comics and get your comic book there. And I used to do that, but the only problem that I had is that my house would be like stacks and stacks and stacks of comics. I literally had nowhere to put them, so I ended up just going digital now,
That was
which is
smart.
which is bad because it's kind of like when you're buying a comic, you're supporting the industry. And I'm going digital, but I'm also buying membership online, but it's less than what I was paying. But it's always fun to go to Midtown Comics and get your comics. It's who New York City is like the spot. If you guys don't know, it's the spot to get your comics, and you can probably meet like artists and writers there too. So um,
Absolutely. It's the best. My
yeah,
room does look like a comic book store though with the amount I have like collected.
that's awesome. Is there any way you could share maybe what's your most valuable comic book that you have that you will never sell, that you just like cherish? Because I have one too, and I can. I mean, if you want, I could go first. So I met Todd McFarlane just a couple years ago, and
Yeah,
he signed me a copy of Spawn 300,
that's
and
awesome.
yeah, I'm never gonna sell that. It's like he signed it in red too, so it's like fresh and vibrant.
Oh,
Um, but a couple years before that, I met Stan Lee, and Stan
oh
Lee
my gosh.
signed me a random Spider-Man comic book, but like an idiot, I sold it. I don't know why I did it, but I sold it. It was for like, I
Oh
sold
my
it for like
gosh.
100. It was horrible. I sold it for like $100, and I wish I could have it back now.
Yeah,
So that
that's
was the
crazy.
first time I met Stan Lee, the first time I shook his hand, and it was the first time I got a comic book signed by him. But if I ever, I guess if I could ever find the buyer that I sold it to, maybe I could talk him into like reselling it for me.
Yeah.
So that'll be great. But yeah, what about you?
I feel like all of mine are prized possessions. I would never really sell any of them, but I'd say top like favorites would be I have a Deadpool Seven Slaughters one shot, and then I have Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One, which are both just insane to be able to own and have.
Yeah, that's great. Is that the Batman Year One? That's the Frank Miller one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's those are good. They're great stories for those of you who haven't read them. I love the Batmans, and I know like they're doing like an absolute Batman that the art kind of almost looks similar to that, and I
Oh, it
think
looks so similar to it.
yeah, and I think they got the inspiration from the Dark Knight of Frank Miller, but Absolute
Yeah.
Batman is crazy too.
Yeah, I was
Do
getting a little
the,
frustrated with it, to be honest. I
with the
feel like,
Absolute Batman. Yep.
yeah, it started off pretty good. I was really excited about it just because it had so many little, like, if you know Batman, it had all these little, like, Easter eggs and hints at stuff, and you had to really know the character to, like, understand all of it. And then it got so popular with everybody being like, wow, like, this is so insane, which frustrated me because not only is, like, the Batmobile tank look like the one from Dark Knight Returns from Frank Miller, but also like the suit and even the like big symbol and his big like rough statue in nature all looks like from the Dark Knight Returns
Yeah,
by Frank
absolutely.
Miller. And so it's not like a new thing. And then it really just feels like even in the second issue, like you're just back to your normal Batman comic. Like it doesn't feel new or like out of this world. I feel like they had a good thing going and they just kind of didn't roll with it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Also, there's only two issues, so I'm
Yeah,
trying
that's
to
true.
I'm trying to give them a chance. I mean, up to maybe 5 or 6 issues, and then I can honestly give my audience like a really good review about it.
Yeah.
But like the first issue was good, but then the second issue, I don't know where they're going with that. There was
Yeah, I
pretty
don't know.
much, yeah, there was pretty much not much going on with it. Basically, Batman he fell down an elevator and met the bad guys, and then escaped with Alfred, and that's about it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
but
felt like they also like the whole Alfred being an enemy rather than like supporting him. I wanted that to last like a little bit longer, not to be like selfish or anything, but they just so quickly turned around to have like Alfred and Batman working back together. And it's not the same relationship, but it's still like working together. And I just wanted that enemy ness to be a little longer.
yeah, me too. It would have been cool to see, to basically see Alfred trying to fight Batman for a couple of issues, and then teaming up with each other to fight like the main bad guy. But yeah, you're right. Issue two, right off the bat, they got both of them working together already, so you can kind of tell where that relationship is going. But it's weird because like that universe has he has his mom is alive and his dad is like gone, is dead, and and basically the cat is gone. Catwoman's not there, although she might show up.
Yeah, she was definitely hinted at.
Yeah, and I feel like DC is like trying to create like their own universe to like answer the Marvel Ultimate Universe, because they see how like Marvel is so successful with the Ultimate Universe that DC want to do that, and I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
But when you do a universe, like you're right, like we have to like scratch everything and make new storylines with those characters. And so far, I
definitely.
mean, the only one pulling it off is Marvel. I mean, I'm telling you, like,
Oh,
if you're
definitely.
not, yeah, if you're not reading Ultimate Spider-Man, like, get on that. Like, I am
Yeah,
telling you, like, as a comic book fan, like, get on that. Like, just the Ultimate Spider-Man. You don't have to read like the Ultimates or, um, the what's it called, the Ultimate universe with the Maker or whatever. But Ultimate
yeah.
Spider-Man this year
Ultimate
was
Spider-Man.
my favorite comic book like throughout the whole year, and maybe because I'm a Spider-Man fan, because I truly am. I am a truly
Yeah,
hardcore Spider-Man fan. But like the way that they told the story of Ultimate Spider-Man and the way they took their time and the way the comic is drawn, it's like holy crap! Like I love every single issue of that comic. It shows with the sales too because they're selling a whole lot of Ultimate Spider-Man comics.
yeah.
Uh, the number one issue when I checked on eBay, it's like right now it's up to like $150, and that
Wow.
comic came out last year. And like an idiot, I should have went to Midtown and grabbed like 5 copies.
Yeah,
I did not do that. I didn't. I wasn't able to get a number one Ultimate Spider-Man issue. But I think that I might get it on eBay, so I might still have it. But I definitely want to get that issue because it ended up being my favorite comic book for like the year.
Yeah.
for like actually several years. Like I would say like 4 or 5 years. That's like that series like totally like beating all the other series I've read. But yeah, Abby, if you haven't read that, like definitely get on that.
Yeah, no, I'm obsessed with it. I think the big thing, like you mentioned it too, is they're taking their time with it, and Marvel needed it. Like the Marvel Comics universe was not all there. They really didn't have a lot of things pieced together, and so they needed this kind of like reset and to start this like new universe. And they're doing it in such a slow, well thought out way that it makes sense. And I feel like DC didn't need to do that. Like they had so many resets and so many like new universes set up, and they're doing this in such a fast fashion. Like I think we already have like 3 or 4 issues already out for the Absolute Universe, and I mean, Ultimates are just now getting. I think Ultimate Wolverine is coming out soon, but it's like
Yeah,
their fourth one, and it's been over a year.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that DC basically just came out with their Ultimate Universe because they want to respond to like the Marvel Ultimate Universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, they Marvel, they're doing it right. They're taking their time, and they got the right writer. Hickman is a builder. If you guys know Hickman, he builds like world and universes. That's what he's
Yeah.
known for.
He's
He
amazing.
yeah, he created the X-Men Kokwa storyline where they had their own island and all that stuff. And I read the whole damn saga, but I hate the ending. But like the whole storyline was great. I don't know if you read those storylines with the Kokwa
I've
Island.
heard about it. I haven't gotten to read it yet, but I've heard about
Yeah,
it.
that. It was the way he set it up and the way it looked was amazing. But the ending, they rushed it. They totally rushed it, and I think
Mm.
that he was rushed to come up with a conclusion too. But yeah, that's definitely Hickman is definitely like one of the greats. I wish I would have met him here in New York, but like I I wasn't able to at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, we were talking about Wolverine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's fine. We could talk about it's all the same anyway. Comics and all that good stuff. But the Wolverine movie was amazing. I think that I heard that they're doing a sequel, and that one is going to be big too.
Yeah.
Especially with the first one being so successful, reaching like $1 billion at the box office. But Abby, what was like your favorite like moment in the movie? I guess that's what I kind
Ooh,
of wonder.
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd say I think my biggest like wow moment, because obviously like, I thought the storyline was really good. I thought all of their little like quips back and forth were great. But I'd say either the scene in the car where Wolverine just snaps at Deadpool and is like yelling at him and was like, no, like you're gonna die alone, like all this stuff, and like was just hating on him. I feel like that was really powerful because we haven't really gotten to see that kind of side from him. And
Hmm.
so I love getting to see that. And then I'd say my like short little bit was probably in the intro when he was going through all of the universes, like looking all the different timelines, looking for Wolverine. The scene with the brown suit, and then he had the claws, and you had the Hulk like reflect in the claws, like since that's a
Oh
comic
yeah,
book cover. That one was so awesome.
that
And
was
then
cool.
beyond that would probably be both of the suit ups. Deadpool suit up scene was awesome because it was such a classic Deadpool costume. Like
Yeah,
I remember Ryan Reynolds talked about how he wanted it to look like it was straight out of a comic book, and it really did. And so that
yeah.
was beautiful. And then Wolverine's putting the mask on was just legendary.
It was the that first scene that you talked about when you beat up Deadpool in the car. On the online community went crazy because they were saying that Wolverine is probably the only guy that shut up like Deadpool, like verbally.
Yeah,
Deadpool had no comeback. You know what I mean? Like he
yeah,
had no
that's like a
comeback
first.
at
Yeah,
all. It was like the first. That's what they were saying, and yeah, there was a lot of cool scenes, like you said, when he was fighting the Hulk. That was a great one. To me, was when they were fighting all the other universe Deadpool.
Oh
They were
yeah.
fighting all those Deadpool, and like you see Wolverine putting on the mask and Deadpool getting ready to slash everybody there, and there's a lot of blood.
Yeah. And they
So
did such a good job of keeping like the characters like Wolverine was being so like hardcore and he was like, I can't wait to kill a million of you, like da da da. But then Deadpool was like, I remember the intro to the scene, like he was swinging from one of the like lampposts and
yeah,
like he was just having fun with it. And that is such a Deadpool thing to do. And so that was beautiful.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the when they come out of that bus, that frame looks so amazing. When they jump off that bus, that looked
Yeah.
really amazing. Although I have to say that one of my favorite too was when we saw Chris Evans when we
Oh
first
yeah.
saw him, and
Oh my gosh. When
I know he was wearing blue, right? So
yeah.
everybody thought that it was Captain America, including myself. I was like, oh, it's him. It's Captain America. He's stuck in this world because he traveled. The last time we saw him in Marvel Universe is when he traveled the multiverse to put back those storm, and
Yeah.
so maybe he could have got stuck in that underworld. Uh, and I thought it was him. I honestly thought it was him, but it's funny because when he was gonna say the thing, Deadpool was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna say it, Avenger Assemble," and he's like, "Flame on," and that was a total shock. I was like,
Oh,
"Wow, it's
I
Johnny
remember the
Storm."
crowd just like stood up and we just applauded and it felt like classic Marvel movie moments where you're like screaming and shouting and you're just so excited like as a community watching this movie. And I remember that was a huge moment for it. Like I was just so happy and couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I was really happy to see him because there was a lot of reports that were saying that he'll never come back.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't come back as Captain America, but he did come back in the Marvel universe. So that was at least he's back. Also, one comeback that I'm anxiously waiting for is Robbie Downey Jr. coming back as Doom.
Yeah.
And
I'm a little nervous about it.
yeah, why?
I just feel like Deadpool and Wolverine did really good, but I feel like that was a big part because Ryan Reynolds is a fan of Deadpool and comic books, and Hugh Jackman cares about Wolverine's character, so they kind of fought for a lot of stuff. But I feel like
Yeah,
the rest of the Marvel universe is really lacking. I feel like a lot of the movies haven't been hitting like they're supposed to, and not only that, but they're ending with like a child being the like new prodigy of each like Thor's got his kid, the oh my gosh, Captain Marvel's got that like little girl. Doctor
yeah,
Strange had that girl with like the star. It's all just like bringing it back to kids, and that would be totally fine if the people watching it were kids. But like
yeah,
I was raised watching all of these movies, and I was still a fan of them, even though Captain America wasn't a kid, like Iron Man wasn't a kid. I was still a fan of them, and I loved them. And then I'm grown up now. I don't want to watch a bunch of little kids be the heroes.
yeah.
So I guess I'm
Yeah,
just a little frustrated with that.
I guess there was a project where they were trying to make it as they were trying to bring a young Avenger team in. I think that
Yeah,
was one of the project, but they kind of scraped that because they saw the box office were tanking because of the storylines that they were putting on.
yeah,
So they were losing viewership, and basically they had to bring the big guns, which was Robbie Downey Jr.
yeah,
and he's back as Doom, which I love. But the storylines is Secret Wars, and if you read the comics, Secret Wars was like when they basically were stuck in the world and they were all fighting each other, and they restarted the whole universe, and that's
yeah.
basically what's going to happen. I believe that they're going to restart the movie universe with new actors, and I think that sounds great. I think that they it's a fresh start, and if they hire the right actors, and they could have multiple hits for the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah. I guess
Not
that's where
saying
my fear comes in. Is like it's a big thing and it could be amazing, but there's so much riding on it. Like if they mess this up, like
yeah,
that's our next
there's
20 years of Marvel movies.
yeah, there's a lot of pressure because they obviously they're talking about superhero fatigue movies, and this might be their last shot because they brought in Robbie Downey Jr. and the director of Endgames, the Russo
Yeah.
brothers. So they really want to do this one right, and if they mess it up, they're going to mess up the whole industry. including comic books. Because comic books is basically writing on these movies too.
Yeah.
So it's funny how like they announced Doctor Doom in the movies, and then boom, you get the Doctor Doom event series coming out later on this year. I
Plus, you
forgot
even
what
got
it's
an
called.
Amazing Spider-Man. The it does a Spider-Man with the like Doom-inspired suit and everything. Like that came out.
Yes, yeah. So the Eight Deaths of Spider-Man came out, where Doctor Doom is obviously he's giving Spider-Man the task to be a covenant to fight monsters in order to save our reality. And I'm covering that in my channel, but I'll be honest with you, not a big fan of the artist and the storyline. Or so far right now, it's just like basic, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know. But I'm covering it because obviously, the Amazing Spider-Man was the original Spider-Man, and he's always gonna be like one of my favorites. Because there are some storylines in the Amazing Spider-Man books that were amazing. Like, let me think here. When he fought like the Zions, I don't know if you heard that story from the Zions from a different universe, and
I don't think I
they're
read that one.
they're so strong, and he fought them. That was a great story. Civil War was a great story when he showed his face. Also, One More Day when he like basically did brainwash Mary Jane, and they had to be separated because they were married.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely some Spider-Man stories, amazing Spider-Man stories that that I will always be a fan of. But right now, it's not happening with the current like creatives.
Yeah.
Uh, but what I can tell the audience here listening and you is that Ultimate Spider-Man is where it's at right now,
Definitely.
which is
Definitely.
important.
Except, did you read the 11th issue with Black Cat introduction?
Yeah, yeah.
I was a
So
little disappointed in her costume.
yeah, it's interesting how like they made her look too. She looks like more like modern and vibrant. But her costume, typical, I guess. But her
Well,
dad basically, yeah. Go ahead.
it's just like it looks like Catwoman. Like there's no, where's the fur, where's the white, where's the classic black cat? And I understand bringing it like to a modern age, but you have to keep like little bits. Like if they wanted to do a sleek black suit, have like some white lines in there, or just something to bring it away from like just the sleek Catwoman look.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, I'm the Felicia Hardy that's in the Amazing Spider-Man. That's a good look. The
Yeah,
Catwoman, that's a good look. But the Ultimate Spider-Man, you're right. It wasn't too shocking. And I think that she's gonna have a big part in that story too, because I think the next cover is her and Spider-Man. So I think that it's definitely gonna she's gonna have a big part for it. But like the storyline is so insane. I mean, the guy that's like trying to bring the superheroes back together in that
yeah,
universe is Tony Stark, a young one, and he's called Iron Lad. And on the last issue of Ultimates, he died. He actually died.
yeah,
So so it's like they don't have a leader. They're trying to gather as many heroes as possible. And the Maker, which is like an ultimate bad guy, he's like a Reed from a different universe, from the original Ultimate universe from 2000, which I read and I wasn't a fan of. But he became like such a bad guy that what happens was that he was in the Ultimate universe. He traveled to the main universe, the 616. He wreaked havoc there. It was insane, and then he moved back to the Ultimate universe, and then Tony Stark and his dad locked him up in a dome right now, in which he can't come out until a year later, and and it's like actual time. Like Marvel actually put him in like that prison for like a year,
yeah.
and, and now the heroes are struggling to like gather together a plan because in a year he's coming out of that dome and he's gonna be strong as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. He's gonna
So
have been for a year focused on nothing but getting back out there and
yeah, and
making it.
wreak havoc.
Yeah,
The thing that I want to see is that he comes out, he kills a few superheroes from the Ultimate Universe, and then the superhero in the Ultimate Universe are like struggling, so they go to the main universe, which is the 616, and they recruit the original guys like Spider-Man and all that stuff. And then
Yeah.
both of the universe, they fight off the Maker. That would be an amazing story, and it's
Yeah. A
insane.
big
But,
crossover.
they haven't crossed over yet. The only guy that crossed over was the Maker. He was the
Yeah.
only that was able to do it. But I do want to see Ultimate Spider-Man and the Amazing Spider-Man together. That's like a dream of mine to see them together. That would be amazing because I'm a long time reader of Amazing, and now I'm a new reader. Not new, but I'm a follower of Ultimate Spider-Man now. So I would love to see those two together. And it's just so funny how like they're so different because like the Ultimate Spider-Man, he's married, he's got two kids, he's got a family. Ben Parker is alive, Aunt May is dead, and then when you go to the main universe, that's Spider Man. Aunt May is alive. Ben
Yeah.
Park is dead. The guy is a bachelor. He's Spider Man is a bachelor. He's not married. He doesn't have kid. He's like he doesn't even have a good job. It's like so opposite of each other, and it was so genius for Marvel to do that because obviously we don't want to read the same Spider Man, but
Yeah. We want something new and like
yeah.
different.
But yeah, Abby, I can go on and on about about that Spider Man because I know I'm such a fan and I've been reading Spider Man for almost 20 years now, so which is insane. But yeah, and I also met Michael Bendis when he came to New York.
Seriously?
Yeah, he came to New York and he did a Midtown Comic autograph signing, and that signing was packed. I remember I went in with my friend. I got three comics from Bendis that he signed. And I remember coming up to the line and I told him, "Hey, you know what? I was a teenager when I read your Spider-Man. Now I'm an adult, and so I want to thank you for like all the Spider-Man memories you created." And he really did. In 2000s, he was probably like the hottest like writer in like Marvel comics. He did the
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man. He did a bunch of events too. I believe he did Civil War too. But he did a lot of like really cool Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about the
Yeah.
Ultimate Universe. I know that you're reading somewhat of the Ultimate, but you're also reading like the Absolute Batman, Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's like the hottest thing you're reading right now that you like that you're hooked on?
Like can you rephrase that? Sorry, I just
Like
didn't.
what's like the I guess the hottest book that you can't get your eyes off, like that's like engaging.
I'd say, like, I know we already talked about it, but Wolverine Revenge has just been amazing. And it helps that it's coming out so sporadically. Like, it's every month, and then the next one isn't until I think end of January. And so that really helps
Yeah,
to keep me intrigued and interested in
yeah,
it.
and that book is a 5-part issue, so it's gonna be 5 issues. There's already been 3 issues out. We only have two more left, and that
Yeah.
book is really cool. I mean, it's basically Wolverine getting revenge. It's like he goes out
Yeah.
there, he's looking for all his enemies, and he's killing all of them. The first issue was kind of sad because they blew up Captain America and Bucky.
Yeah. And Bucky.
So yeah, so they blew them off, and I was like, "There's no way Captain America dies that easily. Come on, you know."
Yeah. Yeah. It was such a quick, like, death for both of them. I was just in shock with it. And I was like, where are they going to go with it now?
Yeah, it was crazy because like when they blew up Captain America, I was like, "Wow, he was so useless. He was so
Yeah.
useless, so useless in that universe." But that's the way the storyline went. And it's interesting that an asteroid blew up like half of the continents or whatever, and the air is like toxic or whatever. But it's pretty
Yeah. And
interesting.
with Magneto.
Yeah, with Magneto, it's the way they told that story was pretty interesting. Also, Nick Fury, uh, it's the original Nick Fury, not the black guy Nick Fury. It's the original Nick Fury
Yeah.
from the '80s. So it was pretty cool to see him. I remember
Yeah, I
reading.
like that too because they had like I remember Wolverine had mentioned, or not Wolverine, Nick Fury had mentioned to Wolverine that they had known each other for so long because Wolverine was just disappointed in the way Nick Fury was acting, and he was like, "Well, you know me, like this is how I've been for years and years." And so I like that it
Yeah,
was the original one.
yeah. I mean, when I picked up my first comic book, and my brother had it, and that was like in the '90s, and I was a kid. Uh, that was the Nick Fury in those covers and everything. That was him.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to to see him again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was shocking to see him again. I'm also not a big like end of the world apocalypse life ending
Yeah,
kind of event, but this was done so well that I actually enjoyed it.
yeah, me too. The apocalypse thing, I'm not really a big fan of. I think the only big fan of apocalypse thing that I liked was when they did disease with the zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the heroes turning to be like zombies, vampire. I like that one. I also like Blood Hunt when Blade was like the vampire killer.
Oh yeah, I like
Yeah,
Blade.
yeah, it was pretty cool. That event just happened like a couple months ago, actually last year, and I covered it in my channel. And it's all like it's basically Blade, turning out to be like a bad guy and recruiting like a bunch of vampires to take over the world. But yeah, I mean, pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like we have all of our comics and we're
Yeah.
we're loving the storylines. Obviously, Abby is like a huge fan also, and I love the Ultimate Universe. But yeah, guys, I mean, I guess we started off this podcast as Wolverine movie, but we talked about everything about comics. Let us know if you want us to talk about specific things in comics, because we're there. We want to make sure we're reviewing things that you would like us to talk about. Abby is like an amazing person to be on a podcast with, so make sure you like subscribe to her channel for any tips on workouts and comic books. You can check my channel, Comic Hour, where I review comics, and it's not spoiler free, so watch out because I spoil the crap out of comics. I have to say, so I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way my style is. So is there, well, before we go, Abby, is there any projects that you're working on that we should be on the lookout for?
Projects. I'm working on releasing a kind of workout plan. I'm working on just bringing myself back to the physique I was at, and I planned to release like a group. Kind of, you can subscribe to it and join me on it. So it's going to be weekly plans and workouts and diet and everything. But beyond that, pretty much just continuing to read comic books every week. I post what I get and my picks for the week. So that's always been fun to talk about. But nothing beyond that super well planned. I love hearing input and feedback on what I should post and what I should be working towards and what an audience wants to see. But yeah.
That's awesome. And again, make sure you subscribe to Abby's channel. She's got some really cool stuff there. And basically, in terms of me, I'm reviewing all the new comics. As you know, I'm also going to basically I'm trying to release more longer videos, long term videos where instead of doing one issue, I'm doing maybe six, an arc, a full arc, and I've been doing that lately. So make sure you check those out. But my next review is going to be, of course, about Amazing Spider-Man coming out soon. And yeah, guys, I mean, yeah, that's about it for me. What do you have anything else to say, Abby?
Just want to say thank you so much for inviting me to be on this podcast. It's been a super big honor and awesome to be a part of.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we'll do it. We'll do it some other time, some more times. I mean,
Yeah.
all right, guys. Peace out and take care.